Welcome to the deep dive. You know, when most people think consultant, they probably picture someone coming in like a fixer, right? A hired gun, maybe, with all the answers ready to go, spreadsheets, strategies, immediate diagnosis.
Yeah, that's definitely the common image, sort of a prescriptive approach, speed, efficiency. But today, we're actually diving into, well, almost the opposite. We're looking at the internal work.
Internal work in consulting.
Exactly. The reflection, the introspection needed before you act, especially in hospitality. We're drawing a lot today from the insights of Chef Arun Chanda from Mint Hospitality Consultancy in New Delhi.
Okay, interesting. So our mission here is to really unpack this idea he calls the mirror moment, that point where a consultant has to, stop and ask themselves, wait, am I designing this for the people? Or am I just trying to prove how clever I am, serving my own ego?
Precisely. It's really a deep dive into empathy, but like applied empathy as a core business strategy. Chef Chanda actually talks about this as the mirror mindset. It's a whole discipline, really.
A discipline, okay.
Yeah, it forces the consultant to look inward, check their assumptions before they even think about execution.
But doesn't that sound a bit slow? Maybe even costly, in a field driven by deadlines and billable hours. Pausing before prescribing, listening before leading, feeling before fixing. Isn't that just delaying things?
Well, you could see it that way, but actually, he argues it's about risk mitigation. Think about it. Fixing a space that feels wrong, that feels emotionally hollow, that costs way more than taking, say, 10 extra minutes to truly reflect upfront.
Okay, so the cost of getting it wrong is higher.
Much higher. And especially in hospitality, because, as he puts it, you're not just building a restaurant or a hotel, you're building a living emotion people walk into.
Yeah.
And if that emotion feels forced or cold or based on some formula, people feel it instantly. They just know.
That really resonates. You can always tell a formulaic place, can't you? They feel generic.
Exactly. Which brings us to this idea he has, humility as method.
Humility.
Yeah.
In business, that word often gets twisted, doesn't it? Like it means being weak or lacking confidence.
Right. But that's not it at all. He calls humility the architecture of clarity.
The architecture of clarity. I like that.
It's the method, you see. The way you clear out the noise, the static in your own head. Humility is just admitting, okay, I'm the expert, but I don't have all the answers locked down. It lets you stand quietly in a space and actually hear its story. He believes every project, big or small, asks that silent question, will you listen to me?
Okay, it sounds quite profound. But if I'm the client paying the bills, how do you measure the success of hearing the space's story? Does that actually translate into, concrete results, deliverables?
Oh, absolutely. It translates into avoiding really big, expensive mistakes. Like if you walk in, determine this must be a high-end Italian place, you might force that idea onto a space that just isn't suited for it.
Right, you ignore what's actually there.
Exactly. But if you listen first, maybe the space tells you, hey, look, I've got these low ceilings, I face the park, there's this huge window. I'd be much better as a bright, airy spot for lunch.
So the clarity comes from fitting the concept to the reality.
Yes, and that clarity translates directly into operational efficiency, genuine customer connection. And that's what drives long-term ROI, not just forcing a square peg into a round hole.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's shift from the philosophy, this sort of abstract idea, to how you actually do it, this art of presence.
Right.
It sounds like it means moving away from just looking at the plans and the numbers and really focusing on, being present, actively observing.
Absolutely. It's about collecting data that's too subtle for a standard brief or a checklist. It's using your own senses, sight, sound, even the feel of a place as highly specialized tools.
He gives some really specific examples, doesn't he? Like noticing how a wall catches the light. Seriously, what business insight comes from that?
It seems small, right? But it dictates the mood of a space.
Okay.
And mood dictates how long people stay their dwell time, which directly impacts the average check size. If the light makes a corner feel gloomy or, anxious, people might rush. They won't linger for dessert or another drink.
But warm, flattering light
Makes them relax, stay longer. It's subconscious, but powerful.
And what about observing how people breathe in a room? That sounds even more subtle.
It is. But think about it. Are people sighing, relaxing their shoulders when they sit down? Or is there a kind of tension in the air that makes them sit stiffly? It tells you about the comfort level, the flow.
And the menu example, listening to how it sounds read aloud, not just how it looks on the page.
Yes, that one's fascinating. Is it full of jargon? Is it confusingly laid out? Does it make the guest feel slightly intimidated or maybe inadequate?
Instead of hungry.
Exactly. Or does it sound natural? Easy to understand, easy to pronounce. That immediately puts the guest at ease. These moments of like radical presence, just stopping your own internal chatter and really listening to the environment. That's where the breakthroughs happen. That's where you find ideas, operational tweaks that no brief could have ever written.
Right. The insights that only come from that deep, quiet observation. Okay, so to make this really concrete, let's get into the stories. Chef Chanda shared 3 specific mirror moments from his work, right? Real-world examples.
Yeah, these are great because they show the principles hitting the hard realities of consulting when the ego gets challenged.
Let's start with the first one, the restaurant shell and the lost vibe.
Okay. This one really highlights the danger of just applying a formula without feeling the place first.
So the setup is, consultant walks into a bare site, totally focused on speed and hitting deadlines.
Right. Doesn't even really look around much. Just immediately decides, okay, high energy international fusion concept, let's go. Starts dictating materials, menus.
Assuming it'll be a destination, that people will come to it regardless of the surroundings, ego leading the way.
Totally. But then something felt off. The initial concept just didn't sit right. Even on paper, it felt forced.
So the mirror moment arrives.
It does. The consultant was basically forced, reluctantly, to take a slow walk, not inside the shell, but through the actual neighborhood around the site.
And what did they find? Not the trendy competition they expected.
Not at all. They saw, older folks out for quiet walks midday, families gathering in the evening, looking for simple, comfortable spots, a real quietness in the mornings.
Nothing like the booming high-energy vibe they'd planned.
Absolutely not. And the insight hit hard. Your concept has to breathe the same air as its community.
Okay. But that realization must have had consequences. Did they have to scrap the initial plan? What about the budget, the timeline?
They did. They had to ditch the expensive materials, the complex menu they had already started pitching. It meant redrawing the whole plan.
To be more in sync.
Exactly. Humbler, warmer, truer to that local rhythm they finally noticed. Yes, it delayed the project maybe 2 weeks.
Which sounds bad initially.
It does, but here's the payoff. Because the final concept was genuinely built for the people who lived there, it survived. It thrived past year 2, which the original imposed concept likely wouldn't have. That 2-week delay saved the entire venture.
Wow, that's a powerful case for pausing. Okay, case study 2, the space that shrunk. This sounds like a classic conflict.
Oh yeah, consultant versus architect. It's all about the floor plan.
Let me guess. Architect wants more tables. Maximize seating. Boost that potential ROI on paper.
You got it. The architect's plan stretched the dining room, squeezing in maybe 15% more seats. More covers equals more money, right? That's simple math. Seems hard to argue with.
So how did the consultant push back against that seemingly straightforward logic? More seats, more revenue.
By shifting the focus, not just thinking about the guest, but thinking about the team and the operation, using empathy for the staff.
Okay, how so?
The consultant argued that every inch the architect added to the dining room was effectively stealing breath from the operation, especially for the concept they had planned.
Which?
A multi-cuisine concept, which means complex kitchen setups, different stations, intricate service paths. You need space for that to work smoothly.
And the architect's plan was squeezing it all into a space better suited for something simpler.
Exactly. Like a small cafe, maybe. Not this ambitious multi-cuisine operation.
And wasn't there a great line? The consultant said, food isn't made from menus, it's made from movement.
Yes. And that a cramped kitchen, a cramped operation will always tell the truth eventually. Through mistakes, delays, unhappy staff.
How did they prove that? Did they, map it out?
They essentially simulated the movement, showed how during a busy service, the 2 main cooks on the line literally couldn't pass each other without bumping into equipment.
Creating bottlenecks.
Constant bottlenecks, which means slower service, food potentially going cold, stressed out staff, higher turnover. So those extra 10 tables the architect added, they wouldn't actually increase revenue.
Because the system couldn't handle them. The table turnover rate would actually drop.
Precisely. It completely reframed the ROI argument. The real mirror moment there was accepting that hospitality isn't just about jamming in as many seats as possible.
It's about how well you can serve the people who are actually there.
You got it. So what happened? They took out a couple of those extra tables the architect wanted.
Sacrificing potential seats for actual function.
Right. Giving the kitchen and the service path crucial breathing room. And guess what? Efficiency improved, consistency went up, the team felt less stressed, more respected.
And the reviews got better. Throughput probably increased beyond what the Maxi plan could have managed.
Exactly. Better results in the long run.
Okay, which leads us to the third story, and this one sounds potentially awkward. The feedback that stung. Ego versus empathy.
Yeah, this one hits close to home for anyone who's poured their heart into a proposal.
So the consultant has this brilliant rebranding pitch. Data, design, strategy, thinks it's perfect.
Flawless in their mind. But the client is hesitating. Something's not landing.
And then comes the feedback, the stinging part.
Right. The client finally says it. Look, you're prepared, you've done your homework, but you're not hearing our fears about this change.
Oof, that hurts. Because it's not about the work quality, it's about you.
Yeah.
Your listening skill, your empathy.
Exactly. It's a direct hit to the professional ego. The immediate impulse is to get defensive, right? To say, no, you don't understand. My plan accounts for everything.
Did the consultant do that initially? Defend the pitch?
They did. For a moment, they felt that sting, that personal hurt. But crucially, they recognized it as an ego reaction.
And managed to pause. The mirror moment again.
Yes. They consciously chose to let that defensiveness subside and realized the client wasn't attacking the design. They were expressing genuine vulnerability, financial worries, emotional attachment to the old brand.
So once the ego stepped back, how did the conversation change?
It shifted completely. Listening replaced defending, collaboration replaced correction. Meaning, the consultant stopped trying to sell the solution and started asking questions about the client's fears. What are you worried about losing? What scares you about this change? What happens if we alienate your loyal customers?
Exploring the anxieties instead of just pushing the plan.
Exactly. The fear of retraining staff, the fear of losing their identity, all that came out.
Did that whole detour delay things? Cost more money?
It probably delayed the final sign-off by a few days, sure. But the outcome was a much, much deeper sense of trust and partnership. The final project went ahead, maybe not radically different in design from the original pitch, but the key was the client finally felt heard.
And that collaboration probably saved time and money down the line, preventing resistance or scope creep.
Absolutely. It made the rest of the project implementation far smoother, more efficient, and ultimately more profitable because everyone was truly on board.
These stories really bring it home, and they lead perfectly into this final idea, the invisible deliverable.
Right. Because we've established consultants deliver tangible things, drawings, strategies, plans.
Things you can point to.
Yes. But Chef Chanda argues that the real deliverable, the thing that actually builds a sustainable consulting practice, is trust.
How does he define that trust? It's not just the client trusting the consultant, is it?
No, it's broader. It's that sense of shared rhythm. When the guest feels comfortable, the owner feels confident, and the team feels supported. They're all breathing the same rhythm.
You can't put rhythm on an invoice, can you?
Definitely not. But that feeling, that trust, that's what gets you rehired. That's what turns a one-off project into a long-term partnership.
It's the invisible signature of successful consulting, maybe.
I like that. And it holds some really vital advice for consultants, especially those starting out. If your head is full of needing to prove yourself,
your advice gets noisy, blurred.
Exactly. That internal noise blocks the clarity. Reflection, this kind of quiet presence, isn't just for crises. It needs to be a constant habit.
It reminds me of that idea. Confidence is louder when it whispers.
Yes. Value the silence. Value the observation before the advice. He emphasizes that the most profitable habit isn't aggressive selling, it's persistent presence.
And remembering your purpose isn't to prove you were right all along,
but to actually improve the situation for everyone involved.
So it frames consulting less as a transaction, more as a journey?
He calls it a sacred journey, actually, of learning and teaching. You learn from the space, the people, the context, and you teach the client how to bring authenticity to life. And the closer you get to that genuine connection, the more meaningful the work becomes for everyone.
Which brings us back to that ultimate sign of success, the inviolable signature. The idea that years later, someone walks into a place you helped create, and they just feel something, a sense of peace maybe, or belonging. They have no idea why. They don't know about the budget fights or the floor plan debates.
They just feel the result of a space that was truly listened to, that underlying rhythm.
It really underscores the main lesson here, doesn't it?
It does. That the truly great consultants, the ones who shape the future, maybe will rely just on big data or trend reports or hashtags, They feel what's needed next. Through instinct, through empathy, through this deep awareness of what people quietly crave, they read the market by reading the human heart.
So the final thought we want to leave you, the listener, with is this. How can you apply this kind of deep, quiet listening in your own work, whatever your field is? How can you tune in more to your environment, your team, your customers, your community, to really anticipate what they'll genuinely need next?
How can you start reading the future? Quietly. Letting that humility, that presence become the architecture for your next success.
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.